Thursday, April 3rd. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Newfoundland and Labrador has Canada's oldest and most rapidly aging population. Today on the show, we're asking, how do we plan for this? We will explore staying longer in the workforce, cost of living, long-term care homes, and anything impacting our seniors of today. And folks will be seniors tomorrow. So the idea for today's show came from an upcoming summit that's happening in St. John's. The topic, creating a stronger Newfoundland and Labrador economy and addressing labor gaps by leveraging older workers. Really interesting topic to dig into, just the type of a thing we like talking about, like an example of what we like talking about on The Signal for a provincial conversation. So we had that. But then came this week's headlines, right? Which if you've been listening to the news, reading the news, you're aware of. Death, sexual abuse allegations, and feces on the walls found in AG report on personal care homes. Seniors advocate NAPE say they weren't surprised by findings in AG report. PC Health Critic calls for police investigation after AG report on personal care homes. So we took that first bit I mentioned, and we looked at those headlines, and we've broadened this focus for today's show, the seniors focus. And essentially what we're asking here is, what do we need to change in Newfoundland and Labrador for folks to have proper care, to have self-determination, to have dignity in life with this seniors focus? Like I mentioned, we're the oldest and most rapidly aging population. This last quarter, population went down again, right, after 14, I think, consecutive quarters of rising. There's an immigration discussion in there as well for looking at tax base and the future of this province, which is so top-heavy with folks who are, and I'm 45, not too much longer, and I'll be down that road of 50 plus, 55 plus, you name it. We're all heading there. So then for today's conversation, as you're listening, if you've got thoughts on how do we plan for this, what do we do for our aging population? What kind of care should we put into things? What are some ideas? The lines are open. 709-722-7111. 1-800-563-8255. The Signal at cbc.ca for emails. And you can text us. You can always text us. 709-327-8206. And with this show, right? Like I'm sitting here in St. John's looking out at the Parkway, Health Sciences across the way. It's a provincial conversation, right? There's a rural-urban divide. There's a North Coast of Labrador specific thought on this. There's a Labrador thought. There's a Northern Peninsula. You name it. There are lots of different variables to be talked about here when we think about seniors and the aging population of Newfoundland and Labrador. My guests, Mohamed Abdallah, Executive Director, Connections for Seniors, and Ron Taylor, Director of Strategy, Connections of Seniors. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Mohamed, reaction to this week's news?
We're not shocked. We are in that kitchen. We've been working in that field for almost a decade now. So
yeah.
We're seeing some negligence that happen. Seniors are looked at as a burden sometimes. We are looking to address ageism. I'm sure that's going to come up today as we're speaking about our summit as well. We see that as seniors don't see insurance in aging in our community, and that's concerning. It's important to start looking at the full scale of aging once you're born, being taken care of. And we do a good job when it comes to youth and younger population. But once we start aging, we seem to be less important. And that's evident by what we're reading every couple of years about personal care homes. This is not the first incident. We had other incidents a couple of years ago in Central, and we had other incidents that are not reported on.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the Auditor General pointed out, I mean, from 10 years ago, there was an AG report, and stuff's not been acted on. And now the Auditor General did say she's got, it looks like the recommendations have been received and that some action will be taken. There's a broader conversation to have with the government on this, obviously, which I know that my colleagues here at CBC NL are working on. But when you see something like this, when you're in the area you're in and talking to seniors all the time, are we failing seniors in Newfoundland and Labrador? Like, are we doing enough for this dignity bit for helping them thrive in their later years?
I think the short answer is Partially, yes, we are, because evidently this is happening. So once you see such incidents, that we're doing something not right. We need to do better on that front. But I think also the way that we're trying to, I don't think it's deliberate. I think we need to start looking at solutions collaboratively. We cannot just try to see what policies do we need to change, what affects our politics in the first period of time. We need to start looking as a community, what do we need to have as a permanent solutions, and how do we create a mechanism within the system itself to correct itself once we see that. How can we do that? Is it just so we can have more authority on personal care homes, or the solution is to change the culture within the personal care homes and to look into what do we need to change in our community as a culture to make sure that doesn't happen, so we don't have workers that would ever do that.
Culture, right? Change the culture. That's a mindset thing too. It's a mindset thing for how we think about these populations in Newfoundland and Labrador. And we're in this, and I sound like a broken record on this, but we're in this time of a health accord, an education accord, the amount of reinvention and looking for at Newfoundland and Labrador and what it needs to be in order for all of us to thrive. The amount of talk around this that's going on, there's a whole lot, but then we still see these stories come up.
Yeah, and it's not going to change until we change the reasoning behind it. And you can discipline staff, you can start to have reaction, but you need to start to look at the roots of the issue. Mm-hmm. And we think that there's an input that needs to happen from community level, from caregivers level, population and families, and then you start to see what solutions do we need to see? How can we avoid that in the first place? Because that's happening every couple of years, and I'm 100% sure that it's happening in between that we don't get reports on. Because we see incidents that we deal with as an organization and it doesn't go out to the public. Our workers, our case managers, our social workers deal with situations all the time that we don't hear about it on coming out to the public. We need more rooted solutions, grassroots movements that we try to change the culture as we move forward in that realm. And it boils down to ageism and how do we see aging in our community.
And before I go to Ron, remind folks just the types of work that you do at Connections for Seniors.
Yeah, so our organization is a wraparound service for seniors, which means we provide a range of programs that seniors need in order to age well in community. We do that from the end of crisis intervention, so we provide housing solutions such as a homeless shelter or an emergency shelter, and then we top up that with case management and the housing center that we have now on Patrick Street that is supposed to service at least 35 people that live there. In addition to that, people dropping by for support or housing. Then we do community support, which is basically making sure that seniors age well in the community at their homes, if they want to go to a doctor appointment, if they need food security, if they need transportation, and so on. So it's covering all the realm when seniors need something. Basically, if you're 55 plus, you reach out and we try to work with you in finding solutions for yourself. We proudly doing that work as the only seniors organization that do the frontline work in the province. Would like to see more happening. We would be more than happy to help anybody anywhere else in the province to do it. But right now, it's the only service that exists in that way, and we would be more than happy to always help out seniors in the community.
All right, Mohamed, thanks for that. Ron Taylor, how you doing?
Good,
man. Thanks for coming in. Tell us about this summit.
Well, you know, you're talking about how the population of Newfoundland and Labrador has aged over the years, and we're the oldest population in the country. Yeah. And by default, we have the oldest workforce. Yeah. If you look historically, back in the 1960s, early 60s, median age in this province was 19. I think just last time I looked, it was 48. So you're sitting here today and you're looking at approximately half of your population is over the age of 50. So you've got a huge elder workforce. And looking what's going to be happening going forward is that we've got about 123,000 people between the age of 50 and 64 who by 2036 theoretically age into retirement. But they're only going to be replaced by about 68,000 students. So you got a gap of 58,000 people. And you take the participation rate in the workforce, you're talking about 37,000 workers that you're not going to be able to replace.
That's a lot of workers.
Yeah, it is. And so we started looking at, and also when we talk about Connections for Seniors, is that a lot of people that fall into our realm are due to no fault of their own, socioeconomic situations. They through ageism, they age out of the workforce, they're pushed out of the workforce, and they have no ways to support themselves. Not everybody has a pension. A lot of people don't. Also, when you talk to employers in the province, I've met with most major groups over the last year, and everyone is dealing with this problem. Is like, okay, how do we maintain the workers that we have, even before we start talking about the mega projects that our politicians are talking about that are coming down the pipe? So, the Encore Summit is to bring together people in a forum where we can talk about what are some of the solutions. And the government of Newfoundland and Labrador has been working on this for a dozen years, so I applaud them for that. We've been into it for the last 2 years and just trying to bring people together with an idea of bringing together a whole group of stakeholders to come together with some solutions to drive some opportunities forward, because older workers are not being embraced. They're not being valued. And, people think, well, you're old. Well, yeah, I'm also experienced. I bring a lot to the conversation. And not only can I bring a lot to the conversation, but older workers can be the mentors for the younger workers that are coming into the workplace. So that's what the conference is all about, is that we've got some great speakers, wonderful panelists. We've got the minister coming to the conference. And the idea here is that it's taken together everything that's been done for the last dozen or so years with the province, with what we've been doing the last 2 years, and going forth with a solid business plan to embrace, educate, upskill, and upgrade workers for the next 10 years of their career to fulfill the labor requirements in the province.
Yeah, so what are some of the things that need to be done if we're looking at so I think and we just did a show a couple months ago, I think. Anyways, we did a show on changing careers later in life, right? So I think there's stuff called like upskilling that sometimes needs to be done. There's bridging stuff, or sometimes there's brand new training, depending. Like, what are the things that are needed for the workforce here if we're looking at a senior specific focus or a 55 and up focus for the labor that will be needed? Like, what help do folks need is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's going to be a partnership of government, business, and academia. A lot of times it's training and upskilling. And when I'm talking about training and upskilling, I'm not talking about taking someone that's in the twilight of the career and sending them back to a memorial for 4 years or to College with Atlantic. It's micro-credentialing. And the whole future and focus of educating and training has got to change from where we've come from. Where we came from was, okay, we've built these institutions. Here's our schedule when we're having these courses, and show up and we'll teach you. I think today that going forward is that a lot of micro-credentialing is going to be taught on site. It's going to be taught in the actual workplace. When I was doing a piece on aquaculture a number of years ago, talking to owners of those organizations that are growing exponentially in places that have high unemployment, they couldn't get people. And I said, okay, well, are you willing to train those people? And they said, yes. I can't send them away. I can't afford to send away 20 or 30% of my older workforce. But if you can come into my place of work and train them on site, I'm willing to embrace that. So just change the way we think about how we upskill and upgrade workers for the next part of their career. And it could be a career transition. It could be someone that was in the fishery working in a fish plant, which isn't easy work. It might be seasonal, but it's tough work. It's 10 to 12 hours a day, and not everybody can do it. So, but maybe we can take that worker and transition them with micro-credentialing from fisheries, from the working in a fish plant to working in tourism. Same skill, same area, same people. When people come to this province, they're not looking to engage the 25-year-olds. They want to engage the 65-year-olds, the 75-year-olds, because that's where the best stories are.
So you got enough buy-in for a summit, right? Folks are coming in to talk about it. So that's a start for this type of a thing, to be having these conversations, to have some folks on board to say, hey, we think there's some sense in this. What else then do you think? What are the other levers you're hoping to have pulled for action on this? And is there the buy-in?
That was the important part before the conference. Just to have a conference in a silo by itself, it has no value. So it was very important to embrace the business community, all the major employers, all the major associations across the province, to find out, is this something that's important to you? Talking to workers. Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to upskill? And the answer is yes to all the above. And I think that when talking to, whether I'm talking to business, academia, or government, everyone realizes there's a need here, but we didn't really come together as a group And that was the whole idea of this conference, to bring everybody together, to commit to going forward, to working together in a stakeholder group of business, academia, government, to actually enact and start the ball rolling.
For it to be meaningful, right?
Yeah,
meaningful.
absolutely. Because the real work is going to happen after the conference.
Okay. Keynote speaker, one of the speakers at this conference details again. So the 8th?
The 8th of April, Emera Innovation Center, and it's the encoresummit.com.
All right. I've got Lisa Taylor on the line, founder and CEO of Challenge Factory and author of The Talent Revolution, keynote speaker in the Encore Summit, like you said, Ron, happening April the 8th. Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
Great. Hi, Ron. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on the show. So you're a keynote speaker. Tell folks across Newfoundland and Labrador a bit more about your work and the insights that you're going to be sharing.
Sure, it's my pleasure. So I am the CEO of Challenge Factory. We're a research agency and consultancy that does work all around the world that is actually known for how we integrate workforce demographics into how communities, companies, industries, provinces, territories gain competitive advantage. And so I'm going to be sharing models and approaches that other organizations have been implementing and working with. I was just listening to the conversation and I heard Ron talking about how the hard work happens after the conference, but sometimes during the conference, inspiration of hearing that there are ways to be able to think differently about employment and about careers, about not just lifelong learning, but long life careers and employment and engagement now that we're living longer is also important. So I'm going to be sharing what's worked in other places, things that haven't worked in other places, and specific demographics and conditions and criteria that might apply within the Newfoundland environment.
All right, so not to ask you to give it all away here just on the radio when you're coming in to town to talk about it, but give us a little sizzle reel, Lisa, on what you think might work here for food for thought for folks.
Sure. So I think, there's a bunch of things that goes on. The first is we sometimes forget that labor markets are true markets. There's supply and there's demand. And supply are all the people that want to work, including older workers that may have retired and then realized, oh, wait a second, 30 years is a long time to be on vacation, and I may not want to do what I had been doing, but I'd like to do something. And then labor demand, which is where employers and people that are looking to hire people say, hey, we have jobs or we need something. And the issue of ageism, of mindsets, of what's appropriate for a 57, 65, 72, 81-year-old, all of these things have issues within the Canadian mindset and our frameworks in both how individuals think about themselves and their relationship with work, that's on the labor supply side, and how companies are structured in order to be able to really take advantage of older worker talent. So, is there a high potential program for a 71-year-old who's just killing it on the job? Probably not. And so all the things that exist inside of companies and organizations to foster great cultures, to increase engagement, all the things that we know work often don't apply once you become a certain age. And once you're older than that, it sends subtle and not so subtle messages that it's time for you to withdraw. And we're going to dig into why is that? Why do we have these mental models? How damaging is it? What's the opportunity we're missing? And what are some easy things that if business and government and policy and academia, if we all work together, that amazing ecosystem that Ron was just talking about that he's brought together for this summit, if we all work together, we can actually do hard things and change things a little bit from the way that they've always been.
We can do hard things and change things, but changing mindsets takes a lot of work and time, and especially when they're ingrained and across the country, really. What types of successes have you seen in fighting back against this to actually get folks to change and to see improvements?
Mm-hmm. So Challenge Factory has been active in this space for 14 years. So when you say it takes a long time, I am with you. I have been talking at the conferences and, all around the world and working on these topics for a long time. And I think the first step is just to acknowledge it does take time. And it is a mindset shift, that actually the biggest barrier is our own mindsets. And that makes it a little bit easier when we start to say it's structural, it's procedural, it's legal. If we can change our mindsets, we can also make progress in all of those other areas. The strongest successes, and I'm going to spend some time talking about this in the keynote right off the bat in the morning, the strongest successes are actually where we take intergenerational approaches, that we don't try to solve this strictly as an older worker issue, but we look at this as a mindset of how do Canadians think about work and careers in general across the entire life course? Where is there actually things that we think about related to work and careers that is different than how other countries approach the idea of work, careers, and employment? How does that hurt us? And how do we shift that mindset in addition to just saying, how can we think differently about older workers? This is a much broader topic, and I'm a firm believer that sometimes when you have a problem, you actually need to make it bigger in order to be able to see more possibilities for how you can solve it.
And I think this is your points are fascinating, and it's such an interesting time to be talking about it when we have an ongoing federal election campaign. We've got on again, off again, either actual tariffs or tariff threats from the United States. There's a lot of reimagining of Canada, who we are, what we are, where we want to be, and I think this is your points fit squarely into like the thinking category of bigger problems, but where we need to go.
Yeah, I think it is an ideal time. And I do think that mindset piece of being open to realizing, the world may not actually be exactly the way we've always thought. What else should we be rethinking as part of how we look at Canada in the world stage and our own trade relationships, our own economic relationships? I think now is an ideal time for this kind of discussion. I'm really excited to be able to be with everyone.
Lisa Taylor, thank you so much for your time on this. And good luck on April the 8th with being keynote speaker. Cheers.
My pleasure.
Lisa Taylor there, founder and CEO of Challenge Factory and author of The Talent Revolution. I'm Adam Walsh. This is The Signal. Today on the show, we're talking seniors, right? And the fact that this province, Newfoundland and Labrador, has the oldest and most rapidly aging population. So we're asking, how do we plan for this? What are we doing now? What more do we need to do? We're exploring everything from staying longer in the workforce, which we're just talking about, cost of living, long-term care homes, right? Care homes from the AG report earlier this week, and everything that was included with that report and the media coverage since then. And we're talking about anything impacting our seniors today and folks who will be the seniors of tomorrow. If you've got thoughts on what Lisa Taylor was saying, or my guests, Mohamed Abdallah or Ron Taylor with Connections for Seniors, or if you've just got thoughts on what we need to be doing differently or more of or less of in this province for the well-being, self-determination, dignity, proper care of seniors, give us a call, 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. You can text us, 709-327-8206. Email thesignal@cbc.ca. So, Mohamed, any thoughts on what Lisa was saying there? Any thoughts on what Lisa was saying? And then I've got another question for you.
Actually, I think Lisa touched on a very important point that the change of culture take time, and realization is the first step. But I think understanding where we are as a community is important for rapid change, which happened during COVID. We have seen how everybody wore masks, everybody starts to keep distance. People adapt very quickly if they want to, if they feel this is important. We are at a stage that we are not going up anymore. The slope of improvement in our community is not going up anymore. And that realization and that data we're hoping to bring out after the summit to say to everybody, we are at a milestone. We have to decide whether we want to just look at things differently. We need to change our mindset a little bit because it's good for everybody else. Hopefully, that will make it happen faster.
Ron, what about yourself? Any thoughts?
Yeah, we talk about training. I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you're under the age of 30 and you're challenged with your career or what you want to do in life with your career in the future, there's all kinds of supports. There's dozens of programs that you can avail to. You're over the age of 50, there's virtually nothing. So the biggest part of our population is the one where we have traditionally not spent enough time on. So I think that someone talks about that shift, that mindset. That's part of it. Is that we need to look at. Okay, we talk about education. Is that education doesn't stop at 30? It's lifelong.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to approach our entire population with the idea of if we're going to educate, upskill, and keep people in the workplace, it doesn't stop at the age of 30.
Oftentimes we'll hear folks say, yeah, but it's too late. It's too late.
I was going to say it's not.
I beat you to it.
Ask Ron how we were talking about AI, for example.
Yeah, AI.
Learning is not 50 years ago. It's very rapid now. We are changing in how we're learning as younger population, but it's very easy now to learn, and we're making it bigger than it sounds.
Yeah.
You can actually adapt to technology in no time. I would leave that to Ron as a lived experience.
Mohamed was prompting me in the past. He said, Ron, you really need to get into AI and because there's some great things we can do with AI. And so finally I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to sign up for a course and I'm going to learn how to use AI. Yeah. And I came out of that and my mind was blown. It's just like for what I can do with that to create proposals, to create ideas, to flesh things out. So, you know, I'm in my 60s, all right? So I'm continually learning all the time. And I think that people need to understand is that people don't stop learning when they finish university. Learning is a lifelong institution. And
exactly. It's never too late. Sometimes folks come in and when they talk about the show, they're like, oh, you must learn so much. So my joke is always, well, no, I mean, I forget a lot. But I do learn a lot. Every day, like conversations like this, it's constant learning. And it's empowering. And I think it's important for folks to be able to have the mindset both of you are talking about right now. We've got a couple folks waiting patiently on the line. Richard Whitaker is on the line from Portugal Cove. Hello, sir.
How are you today?
Doing okay. The sun's shining, so, you know.
Exactly. I got to get out and do something.
There you go. Thoughts on today's show?
Okay. You know that recently lost my wife.
Yes.
And partner for 61 years, pretty well married, and a couple of years before that. So, you know, that's a big hole in my own existence. However, and I've been talking about being, you know, only half a person, but now I've got to get on and become a full person and pick up what I've missed out on or Jill did, you know. And Jill wouldn't thank me if I laid back and felt sorry for myself. And I think that's part of the key to you know, to having some sort of a purposeful existence. You know, do as much as you can for yourself.
Yeah, and you know, I think Mr. Whitaker, and again, you know, condolences and your opinion, your thoughts here. I think that the statement for folks to hear, I think that's community leadership, right? Like it's an important message to get across to people about life and living and what to do.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I'm all now getting back down to planning for some of the things I've been working with for years and years, and you know, doing some more. And you know, I'm lucky enough to have most of my marvels. My kids would probably argue with that, but they would have done that when they were only 16 years old or so.
So their attitudes have not improved, I see. Well, that's a note being taken for next time Robin's on the show.
Yeah, but the point is that, you know, I do have things that I can do. I can still make a contribution of sorts to the community at large and so on. You know, I'm finding it's really important to make up my mind to do that, you know. Yeah. And but no, as I said, I am lucky, and very lucky, genetically and otherwise. But nonetheless, I've seen people my age. There's a gentleman my age, I think, roughly anyway, who I met in working in Kent's part-time. And, you know, he's using his knowledge of a lifetime to help other people to find what they want or need.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, you can do as much as you can as long as you reasonably can and so on. I think we owe it to ourselves to try and keep reasonably fit and to the world at large. Delay that hospital stuff. That's no fun, as you know.
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And you know, I mean, there's no question that you can't avoid all of it, and no matter what you do. But nonetheless, do what you can while you can, and don't expect everybody else to do it for you.
No, it seize the day and all that. It's these are great points, and I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a call later on, later the week.
That's
I got
fine.
a question for you for something separate for a thing, so I'll be in touch with a call.
Okay, and we've got to get, you know, I'll re-mention what I did before. We can't mention the creature in the White House because it only encourages him. That's what he wants. He wants you to mention, notice me. Okay, I'm just as bad, mind you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mr. Whitaker. Dick Whitaker calling from Portugal Cove. Okay, we got a few calls, folks. So before I get back to the guys in studio, let me see. We got Philip on the line from Campbellton. Hi, Philip.
Hi, Adam. Yeah, real interesting topic, and a few thoughts. It seems to me this can't be done from the top down.
Yeah.
This has to come from communities. And another thought is that why not have a look, instead of organizations, have a look at Aboriginal communities where grandparents were treated, to me, with an awful lot of respect. And how did they organize things? Elders were looked at as sources of wisdom and not something to be shelved away.
Yeah.
So that's another thought. And still another thought is we got to change our ideas about what is considered productive. Just because something doesn't make money doesn't mean that it doesn't benefit the community. In fact, benefits to the community are non-monetary. We could have a community without a money system, and it would be probably healthier. So we should rethink this thing. Just like one of your guests said, this problem needs to be looked at as something bigger. I'm currently farming at the age of 77 and enjoying every minute of it, and teaching younger people who come to the farm what I know about what's here, and they teach me all kinds of things too. I've had students come and stay for weeks on end, and I said to them, okay, you help me for 4 hours and your room and board is free. And that works really well. No exchange of money, but they help me and I help them. And the interaction between us is really heartwarming to me. So it's not a matter of putting old people away or young people away, shoving them all in school, shoving old people in old people's homes. What a waste. We've got to bring those ideas together so that the activities of life, loving one another, feeding one another, having a sense of wonder and awe and understanding of what's going on around us, all of that is far, far more important than how much money somebody makes. And those things have to become the center of our communities and not what is considered productive now.
Yeah,
so that's a few thoughts anyway.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's household, community, province, country, right? Like that's stuff that you can spread right across the toast there, Philip. All right, I'm going to let you go, but before I do, I will just say, looking ahead to next month, I think the tentative date for gardening season to kick off is the 13th of May. So please be in touch on the farming come gardening season, sir.
Yes, okay.
Thank
you.
Be well. Thanks,
Yeah,
Philip.
you too.
Philip calling there from Campbellton. One more, so we still have a call list. I'm going to go to one more person, back to the guest, then back to the call list. Marilyn is on the line. Hello, Marilyn. How are you?
Hi. I'm trying to survive, sir.
Tell us about that, please.
Well, I had a fire in September. I'm at a shelter. It's called a connection for seniors. Now, don't take me wrong. I'm very grateful for what I got, but when I came here, I was told that I was coming to a private room, my own bathroom. When I got here, I was very upset, very. I treated the staff not nice at all. When I went in the bedroom, there were 4 beds. I nearly died. So anyway, they talked me down, and of course I react before I think, like I'm trying to practice cognitive thinking, but I'm not doing a very good job. So anyway, I just want stability in my life. I want my own apartment, my own kitchen, my own bathroom, my own privacy. And like with 3 other women in the room, like we all got different personalities. Neither one of us know what the other person is going through and how much trauma they're going through. And it's really stressful.
Yeah.
Very stressful.
And so you lost your home to a fire. You're in a shelter.
Yes. My apartment, yes.
And what's the wait list like for housing, or for the like, what's it looking like for you to move from the shelter, which, the emergency support, to get back into some form of apartment or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
Like, the government makes all these promises and giving you so much money for this and so much money for that. And once they announce it, it's put back on the back burner. It's like we don't matter. Now, the shelter that I'm in, I got to say, the staff are wonderful. Absolutely. I'm very grateful to have a roof over my head. I'm very grateful, to have 3 meals a day. I'm a diabetic. We get a comfort allowance every 2 weeks, $87.50. They took away my diabetic allowance because I'm a really bad diabetic. I'm on 4 needles a day. And it's just like I take 5 steps forward and then 20 back.
Yeah.
And it's stressful. And you got so many personalities. Some people are very aggressive, and they say things that are not true.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely not true.
Folks in crisis, right? Folks maybe dealing with trauma and stress,
God,
and
it's
there's lots
terrible.
of stuff that can come. Marilyn, if you don't mind me asking, if you're in a shelter for seniors, how old are you?
I will be 65 in October.
65 in October, and you're waiting to get back into housing. Can I what
Pardon?
in your apartment? What was something like? Talk to me about independence and when you were living in this apartment before the fire. Like, what was your day-to-day like for independence? That because you've lost a large amount of that right now because you're in a in a
I
shelter.
lost everything with the water damage. I lost everything.
Yeah.
I left everything there. What was my everyday life like? I get up and I go. I go to the supermarket now. Normally I'm on Roquac Lane, and just to sit down. And I was up there yesterday, and tears rolled down my eyes because all these people were coming out with all these specials like chickens and I love to cook. And just to get back in my own kitchen and cook. I can't wait to cook a jig's dinner or a turkey.
Yeah.
It's so many things that I can't do that I want to do. Even in my own bed. Get up out of my own, go in my own bathroom and sit in the tub. Go in my living room and watch TV.
Yeah. Yeah, the daily
and
stuff
I really
that you do.
love
at home.
gardening and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm just stuck for words here now. I'm
No,
just
no, that's
babbling on.
okay. I think you've described your situation. You've described your thoughts of the system. You've described what matters to you in life, independence, your love for cooking. I mean, you've done a great job of describing all of that for us. And I think it's important for folks to hear this, right? Like, this is when we talk about seniors. It's important to hear from seniors and the realities that they're living in. And I just want to say before I let you go, like, I hope something works out for you. I'm sorry for the situation and what happened with the fire and the water damage, and I just hope you can
It's
be
not
in your
your
own spot.
fault. I just want some stability back in my life
Yeah.
to live as a normal person.
Well, Marilyn, I'm wishing you for that stability to come as soon as possible, and thank you for coming on the show to tell us about it.
And thank you so much for having me.
All right, Marilyn there, right? Mohamed, I mean, Marilyn mentioned staying at a shelter, right? But how unique is this? Like, it's unique for Marilyn. It's a terrible situation for Marilyn to be in. But how many other times have you heard stories like this?
We opened our shelter in 2018, and we have been full since then.
Full.
Yeah, we have never. People are leaving, and other people and more seniors are coming in, and we're trying to expand our capacity. So we moved from 12 bed now to about 50 bed. So we have 50 bed now available. We couldn't do the single rooms anymore. For example, we do have single rooms available in other sites, but it's impossible with the number of people coming in, and the influx of coming in is slower than coming out because we don't have a housing stock that is available enough for seniors. Rents have gone so high after the mortgage rates increased post-COVID. We are seeing a bit of a stigma from private operators that own big complex buildings against anybody that is being held by community organizations. And that's happening on every level, not just seniors. So if you talk to youth organizations or other organizations, when they call some of the private complex owners and say, can you please see the application for the individual, they say, we don't take somebody that works in the community. That's a stigma, of course. It shouldn't happen. It has been happening for about 2 to 3 years. It never existed before. We were surprised to hear about it recently, and we said we're going to address that in the next year, which is this year. But it's a big concern because we're seeing a lot of people staying in shelter longer. And I think Marilyn's story is very informative to everybody hearing us now, that you don't have to be in mental health or addiction issues to be homeless. No. You can just have an incident in your home that can happen to anybody, and you lose your housing, and you cannot go and stay in a hotel and spend $6-7 grand a month to stay in a hotel.
Who has that? Like, some people might, sure, but a lot of people don't have that kind of money kicking around.
Exactly. You're talking about the 2%. So the rest of the population cannot really afford that. If I lose my housing tomorrow, I cannot afford staying in a hotel. Yeah. It's very expensive. And the care that comes on finding housing and the rapid service that's supposed to happen, that's Marilyn being with professionals that are 24 hours focusing on getting her housing, and there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
So imagine someone that is not getting that kind of service or any kind of support and can't find anything out there. There's more work to do. There's more capacity needs to be built to community organizations to provide that service faster. But also there's housing plans that needs to exist in our province generally, which I think we're going towards that. But I think a bit of a rapid movement is needed across the country. I know that. But in Newfoundland and Labrador specifically, having 50% seniors in the next 10 years of our population, it's going to be very critical for us seeing more senior population being homeless in our province.
Let me go back to the phones. We've got Daryl on the line from St. John's. Hi, Daryl.
Yes, hello. Don't mean to bring politics into the situation, but it's always a factor of life.
Politics means policy, and that's the future of the province and country, sir, so go for it.
Yeah, there a couple of weeks ago, I really liked Pierre Poilievre, what he was saying about seniors, leaving the RRSP so you don't need to be 73 to take it out. And also like 34,000, I can't remember the exact figure, being tax deductible and stuff like that. Not that I'm endorsing any political party, still haven't decided how I'm going to vote or everything.
You're talking about politics and what people are putting out there for people's votes. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, it was just nice to see that come out. I mean, I'm approaching my later years now, too. I've seen statistics on how much people don't have saved, don't have RRSPs, don't have pensions to a degree in the same situation. And I'm sure all your guests have thought of these ideas, but I mean, a senior, you got to get into like work sharing, and I see things I hear like around the bay, the fish plants and stuff like that, and if things keep going, all the mega projects coming on. And, I mean, there's seniors, we can't work 10 or 12 hours a day anymore, but yes, maybe we can work 5 or 6 hours. It's some sort of work sharing and stuff like that, keep the money in the communities and adapting to the senior workforce. I know your guests are doing that there, but I mean, somebody collecting old age security, if they're taking a job and then they're getting deducted, it's not enough impetus there for them want to take a job and stuff like that, even if it is sharing. There has to be more policy to make it easier and better for workers to stay in the workforce. And then I look, say, St. John's area. I mean, a lot of seniors or people getting older there now, we own our own homes, but yet the taxes, our income isn't low enough that we're getting any tax deduction from municipalities. And I mean, if there's a tax deduction, I mean, I don't want to sell my house when I'm 80 years old because I can't no longer afford to keep it, right?
Oh yeah, from home insurance to the taxes you got to pay for your home. Then you're trying to heat your home, and like if you're still on oil and you haven't converted, and if you have converted, the cost for heat and everything else.
Yeah.
It's real dollars that impact, especially
Yeah, I mean,
especially
paying
if a senior's alone. Yeah.
Yeah, $3,000 a year for property tax or whatever like that, another $3,000 or $4,000 for insurance. I mean, that could prompt somebody to actually sell their house that they're quite capable of living in because they can no longer economically keep it.
Yeah.
So yes, policy and politics is going to play a part into it, and with regards to the older workforce, there has to be some consideration giving to work sharing, working less hours. I'm sure your guests are all aware of that. Anyway, I'll have to go on. That's just my 2 cents.
Oh, look, Daryl, thanks for that. Way more than 2 cents in today's value for that opinion. So thanks so much.
True. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah. Daryl, the Live of St. John's. All right, Ron, thoughts on what Daryl was saying there?
Some really good points there. He talks about that work sharing. I think that's going to be a big part of the workforce going forward. He also talked about pensions, and there's no question that there's going to be some things happening at the federal level there to ensure people can go back to work and not be adversely affected. One of the things he talked about too was that people on pensions, and we've got a lot of people out there now that are living on like $1,700 a month that are seniors, and if we're able to give them micro-credentialing, get them to go back working even part-time, even if it's at minimum wage, that's an extra $1,000 a month in their pocket. And at that income level, that's the difference between eating or heating your house in the wintertime. So I think it gives people more dignity. It gives them the ability to stay within their homes because people do fall through the cracks. And there's various reasons for it, but the social economic aspect of it is huge. If people are able to support themselves, live within their own homes with their apartment with dignity, and they're not going to end up in the public care. And there's no advantage for us as a society to not give people opportunities to care for themselves, and by not having that level of care or those options for career and work, that we force them to go into government care, and there's no one profits from that.
Yeah, like talk to any food bank when it gets cold in the fall about folks who will come because they can't afford to heat, right? This is, I'm at CBC 13 and a half years now. And numbers of times we've done stories around food banks. And it's, in the fall, and you will get your seniors coming because they're trying to pay for heat until you get to the warmer season again. And it's the food bank side of it. And that's ever present. And since the pandemic and with the cost of living crisis, it's been more. Yeah. We got a note into the show from Pat. Listen to this. Good afternoon, Adam and all. I'm on the other side of 65 and still in reasonably good health and shape, knock on wood. In addition to my primary career in life of over 40 years, offshore oil and gas, I have had the fortunes of a number of careers over my lifetime, selling men's clothes, owning my own cafe, publishing a cruising guide for this place, Newfoundland and Labrador, T-shirt art when the cod fishery closed in 92, and so on. I'm not done yet. Pat used 2 exclamation points. I'm still working, and please God will be able to do so until I don't want to. I presently work in the wonderful and burgeoning filmmaking community. Filmmaking, what a great opportunity for this place. I had the fortunes of commencing my oil and gas career when it was beginning in Newfoundland and Labrador in the late 70s. And I look at where that industry is today, providing lots of employment, education, and a comfortable lifestyle for many, both onshore and offshore, nationally and internationally, directly and indirectly. The film industry has taken off in recent years, and I'm pleased as punch to say that I started back in the Republic of Doyle days. And now we have numerous filmmaking projects, local, national, and international, on an annual basis, and providing lots of employment, education, opportunity, and a comfortable lifestyle for many, directly and indirectly. I hope it goes the way the oil and gas industry has gone for this place. I have been accepted by my wonderful younger colleagues, and they appear, in quotes, to enjoy my stories of my careers gone by. My philosophy on life: there is nothing I can't do. Regards, Pat. Thank you for that email. Guys, we've got 4 minutes left. Thoughts on that email there?
I think it's great, and it really illustrates that the mix of senior workers and younger workers is they learn from each other. We have a lot of Gen Zs in our place, and I'm constantly learning from them, and at the same time, they're constantly learning from me. And sometimes I say to them, well, I won't tell you everything you need to do in life, but here's some things maybe perhaps you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And experience comes with that, and the maturity, and that it's great because every day I learn new things from younger workers, and every day they learn things from me. And when you've got that mix going, it's golden.
I agree. 100%. Well, if Pat, you're ever looking to volunteer or work, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Yeah. But as an organization, we, when we started, the co-founder and I, when she left now for 2 years, but we were both, I was in my early 30s, she was in her mid-30s. And I found that having older adults or more mature staffing or more individuals with experience enrich our culture, our learnings, make us move faster. Also, it balances workplaces a lot. Yes, you need the energy from younger population or generation, but also you need that maturity or wisdom or learnings. I work with Ron for the last year and a half, and I'm learning a lot from all our team, whether it's younger. I'm one of those in the middle kind of problem. Hopefully in 5 years I will be able to tell them I'm older than you.
Oh, look, that happens. When I came here, I was like 30, turned to 31, and still in the younger end of it. Yeah. And now I'm one of the older ones. And I think, with the younger crowd in their early 20s here, it's like, oh, here comes Adam with another Korea or Japan story. I roll. But they humor me, which is nice.
Yes. And we're looking forward to that. I think that balance in our workplace needs to always exist.
Yeah, it's important, right?
Yes.
Life context matters. And then the curiosity of young folks and the talent that they bring matters too.
Yeah, and the idea, I think there is something that was mentioned a couple of times here, but alluded to. Ageism defeats seniors internally. They feel they cannot do something they can do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential in seniors, but we tell them once you turn a certain age, that's it.
Can't.
And that we're killing potential, we're killing our resources, and we're killing the pass on of wisdom and knowledge across our community and workplace. Nobody should be told to sit down and stop working unless they want to.
Exactly.
It's not a stigma. It should never be a culture. It should be an individual decision based on the person's preference, conditions. Everybody age differently. Everybody have different challenges in life, but also they can offer different things. We are talking about technology as if it's an obsolete factor for seniors, but let's look at it within the next 10 years. The generation that is very well talented with technology is going to need to use it. Yeah. How are you going to learn from how they want to adapt to it if you let younger generation only decide that? Seniors needs to be involved in technology, needs to be involved in this decision. So within the next 5 to 10 years, we can make decisions that are inclusive and make the market inclusive for everybody.
Yeah. Ron, final thought?
EncoreSummit.com place. We've got a full house that's going to be there on the next Tuesday, the 8th. Got a few seats left, so if you're thinking about coming, now's the time. EncoreSummit.com.
Mohamed, I can see why Ron's the director of strategy. Right on point, right? 30 seconds left. Got that EncoreSummit.com message in. Guys, thanks so much for this conversation. It's an important conversation. I appreciate both of you being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks. It was great. Thank you.
Ron Taylor, Mohamed Abdallah, both with connections for seniors. Thoughts on today's show? I always appreciate the notes and calls, emails, you name it. The Signal at cbc.ca. Call the Signal line and leave a message, 709-576-5260. Tomorrow on the show, everyone, it is the first Friday of the month, and we're hitting the pause button on the news. Yes, we are. We're hitting the pause button for tomorrow. It's an hour of stress-free radio. The only radio you will hear on the Signal tomorrow is trivia-related. That's right, John Gushu is going to be here. Questions are ready. I've got a book package to give away. Join us for an easy, laid-back Friday of trying to have some fun and to escape from the noise of the world for 55 minutes tomorrow. Until then, thanks for listening.